Hey, good evening, Galleon. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary. It seems like every Monday night I say the same thing. I don't know. Somebody work on a better intro. Matt and I were talking for a second before we went live about things great and small, but something that's real important and is this time of year is the city Christmas tree. And so it came up from South Boston, a last name Ginner, and I think the story goes that it's the former resident there, and perhaps the person who planted this tree is Sarah Beagle, who people know by either the current name of the daycare center on Harding Way East, or really a legendary person in Galleon over decades and decades. So, anyways, out of Sarah Beagle's yard comes this year's tree. I happened to notice it today. If you haven't been up there, it's not decorated yet, but it's great big blue spruce, and so that begins to, if you at all get excited about the kinds of things that go on this time of year in terms of Christmas and those traditional things. The lights are going up, and we're moving into the holiday season. I think it's a week from Saturday is the uptown, the Santa breakfast, and all those things. So come home to Galleon. I drew a blank on that. So anyway, that's a small thing we were talking about. Some of the bigger things that happened. We were counting, Matt and I were. He's only been to Bueller's twice. I can say we've logged 3 trips up there, and I think 2 trips to Drug Mart. So I think. Oh, and I was at Phil's. So I'm just a shopping machine this time of year. But it is really. If you haven't been up to Bueller's, make sure you get up there and enjoy that. It is laid out a lot like the Geyer store. I guess that's because that's where the refrigeration is, and but it's nice to see that quality of food in Galleon once again, and so we're big thumbs up there. And I think on some people's minds is when and if the Galleon's ever going to rate a liquor store, and I can say I'm not sure where that stands exactly. I know it's under review in Columbus, and I'd expect we're weeks away, days away before some announcements made on that. Going back to last week, I chattered a little bit about the I guess requests for information. I didn't know what to call it. Solicitation. The Felicia, we'll call it, a question of what we can do better in Galleon, what kind of agencies, what kind of activity. And I saw that a liquor store was one of the things. So it was duly noted, and I think that's in the works. But anyways, back to Bueller's. Really nice to have that open, and blown away, as I think everyone who was there on Wednesday was it was a social event. So if you missed it, come to their grand opening, which I think is the 1st. Yeah, that's a big day. I think that's the same day they're going to do a grand opening out at Sleeping, huh? Might be. Anyways, we can handle it, but it's nice to have a grocery store back. That's a big deal. Probably the biggest deal that goes on at City Hall is the annual budget, and we're probably in the 3rd version of that, or 2nd version of that, trying to work things out. And I know last week at the Finance Committee made a comment about the budget as submitted, particularly as it related to the water fund. Unless some changes are made, it's going to require a nearly 20% increase in rates, which is $3 or $4 a month for a small water user. So it's not a bank breaker, but it's definitely sounds good when you look at percentages. In any event, been working quite a bit over the last week trying to find ways to keep that increase, either push it off into the middle of the year or reduce that, and so it's an inch by inch process when it comes to the balancing act between what to use those limited water fund dollars for. So anyways, that's been going on quite a bit. We've received notification and went ahead and pushed that out about the 598 project. They're going to be starting soon. I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of impact or what they can get done, but we'll hope that they can have decent weather in the first part of the winter, get some of the work that they planned for 2021 accomplished. There's that. If not, it's going to make for one heck of a busy construction season out there in 2022. So I think the best way to stay posted is keep one eye on both eyes on the wheel, or excuse me, on the road. But keep an eye out there. I suppose you'll be able to track the developments about as well as we can relate them through a city website or ODOT email. So. That's kind of where we're at right now. Any questions at this point?
Not yet.
Yeah.
If you have anything, please submit it here.
Yeah, I'm just about up to my eyeballs in trying to work through this budget, and I think some of the changes on city council may impact some of the capital projects. So I spent a little bit of time today talking to some of the council members who are, who I think have the pivotal votes when it comes to whether or not to build additional infrastructure out at north of Brant Road on 598, kind of out there in the on the Valero on the way west out to what is the proposed Free Center site. So the part of the way that you would avoid some of the rate increase in water is not to build some of the infrastructure projects that had been scheduled using city capital improvements funds. Perhaps use those city capital improvements funds in a different way than was proposed under this budget. So we may see that discussion perhaps in terms of question and answers tomorrow night at City Council, but probably more in as council members get more familiar with the budget. I expect to see that the week after that. I want to say it's December 7th. There's a committee meeting, a committee of the whole meeting that first week in December, so we'll see. That's when I really expect the most of the questions, but what I'm hoping tomorrow night at council when it comes to the mayor's report is to be able to bring up some of these trade-offs without going on unduly long and begin to see what council feels like in terms of paying off debt. I don't think anyone wants to raise rates, but there's some trade-offs in terms of use of our money and some of the federal funds, and so we'll get into that a little bit more into more detail tomorrow night, supposing council members are want to get into a dialogue or a back and forth or a little bit of a Q&A on those kinds of things. So all right, what do you got? Anything?
Nothing at this time.
Let me think here. Matt, anything before we kick the can down the road?
A lot of people have been calling in regarding leaf collection. Just for everybody's information, we do collect as late into the season as we can.
Yeah, we're a couple weeks away, and you can keep an eye on the sky, or certainly an eye on the weather forecast. The transition, if you look at our the plow trucks that we're also using for leaf pickup, you can see they're ready to hang a plow on and roll. So I think we're in that in-between season, and my guess is, we may plow snow or at least salt once or twice and still be in the leaf pickup business. So there's we'll use this time the best we can. That's a good point to be made. I think all of the Christmas gift cards have been distributed. That's once again comes from the company that represents the city in workers' comp claims, trying to manage those, assist us in managing those. So those gift cards are gone. I'll bring up something. I was out last week. Doesn't matter which day. It seems like Wednesday, but it doesn't matter. And although I didn't provide much assistance, quite honestly, for the people who may have seen me out there, I was out at that drive-through food pantry, and it's pretty remarkable. Dozens and dozens of cars. The whole west parking lot, kind of out in front of the middle school, is parked up every space, and you have to give the big thumbs up to the Second Harvest Food Bank for the logistics and the volunteers that were there. They were moving people through at a remarkable pace. Said to me, we need to put our heads together over the next several weeks and see if there's a plan to keep that going in Galion, see if there's a revenue source in addition to the city and what Second Harvest is bringing literally to the table. But it's become a regional thing. I didn't go around checking license plates, and I have no idea whether they check driver's license to make sure that those are all Galion residents. But it speaks to the need to assist a lot of people in our community with food. So I don't know, scratch my head, and we'll have to figure out in what ways we can continue to provide support from City Hall to accomplish that going into. But it's quite a production, and literally it just seemed like hundreds of cars and moving them through at a pretty rapid rate. So big thumbs up and hats off, or however you want to say that, to the people at the school, to the Second Harvest Food Bank, and I think to City Council for agreeing to go ahead and fund that through this year. I can't remember. It seems like between last year and this year we've got between $50,000 and $100,000 of CARES money that was thrown into the stew, or however you want to say it, so that they could have those food banks over the last 2 years. So we'll scratch our heads and figure out what can be done about 22 over these next couple of weeks. Anything else going on?
Just a comment from Dawn. She said,
Yeah.
I must have missed the mayor at Bueller's.
Yeah, I didn't hang out there that much. But yeah, there was I don't know, I was there midday with my wife and had a real cheesy, corny picture taken with my Christmas, or listen to me, Christmas, Thanksgiving turkey. I thought somebody would comment on Facebook that there's 2 turkeys or something silly like that. But yeah, it's nice up there, Don, and I know you had been a real supporter of the idea of getting a grocery to town, and once it's here now, the obligation is to get up there and spend a lot of our grocery dollars here locally, so we can have this be a successful investment venture on the part of Bueller's. So. Anything else?
I did not get any questions.
All right, I will go back into my cave, folks. We've still got work to do in the budget, and but I guess that's what part of one of the many things about this job that I enjoy is trying to keep as high a level of service as possible, and in spite of some critics, keep our utility rates as low as we can, while still staying compliant or getting back in some cases into compliance with state regulators. So, all right, that's all I got tonight. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, thanks for making it easy for me. We'll see you next week, and tomorrow night's council meeting, a handful of intros, meaning first readings. If there was something real important, I would have mentioned that, but I don't know, there's 6 or 7 ordinances, so tune in. We'll be at we'll do our best to present those and get them through the second to last meeting of the year. So, all right, onward. We'll see you next time. Good night.